GM. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to have you both, Nick and Elliot, with us today. I know you guys have been working on some cool stuff in the real world asset ecosystem. So, before we start, do you guys want to give yourselves a short intro?
Yeah, hey everyone. Thanks, Churro. Thanks, Arbitrum, for having us. My name is Nick Garcia. I'm the founder here at Fortunafi. Excited to share more with you guys. Been in the crypto space for a little while now, and have always thought that DeFi and obviously Arbitrum DeFi is an incredibly important place to be. So happy to dive into it, and thanks for having us, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. My name's Elliot Feeney. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having us on. Also been at Fortunify leading partnerships for about 2 years now. Kind of been in the space for a long time as well, since 2015. Been around the block a little bit at Bitcoin Magazine, Block Demon, and now kind of helping bring on some pristine collateral into the DeFi space through RWAs.
For those that are listening in, for those that don't know what Fortunify is, do you guys want to give the community introduction on what you guys do and what you guys are currently working on?
We have created as an application that allows global users and institutions to natively on Arbitrum and use them in the ever-growing DeFi ecosystem that has been built on Arbitrum. We have a variety of different assets. Today we have T-bills. Over the next few weeks we're adding four new additional asset types. But these are natively issued on Arbitrum. They can be transferred through different protocols that we onboard through Fortunify, which enable you to use it across different protocols, use it as collateral, and have sort of more utility on these assets, which I really think are core to the mission of bringing DeFi and real world assets together.
Nice. And yeah, well, and I guess a follow-up question to that is, why is it important to have T-bills like on chain? And what's the difference between, having things on chain and off chain in terms of real world assets?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think starting with T-bills, I think taking a step back, right? We've seen the role of stablecoins in the crypto ecosystem take a substantial, large product market fit cap. It accounts for a significant portion of the market sense, right? You have a natively highly, we need to have some stable assets, so DeFi and really across all the different use cases. And we've seen sort of this proliferation of centralized stablecoins and decentralized stablecoins. And ultimately, you can look across all of them. At some point, they have a combination of either all treasury bills or some allocation of treasury bills and some form of over collateralized crypto asset or LP token or some sort of digital value on chain. And so being able to bring in native chains allows protocols that have been natively issued on these chains and other different assets that I mentioned we'll be bringing on it. And the use case that has really taken off in the beginning, I think we've seen also, tokenized gold. That's been obviously a pretty large asset growth if you look at sort of the total market cap. But, genuinely T-bills are, I think, one of the better use cases and have been over the last couple of years. It's just been very easy to integrate basically anywhere where you have USDC or USDT. There's a little bit of, friction in terms of integrating it, but at the end of the day, these are very possible. They're happening today, and they're going to be increasing quite a bit. And it's a much more efficient use of collateral, right, than just having USDC sitting there. USDC and Circle is a fantastic company, but ultimately, I think being able to provide users that are holding these stablecoins, and in many cases now direct treasury bill exposure, is becoming an increasingly important aspect of DeFi.
Right. And, real world assets fit in with DeFi within that whole ecosystem.
Yeah, so I mean, if we think of really DeFi, right, where we're taking a lot of the existing financial services and creating more efficient forms of them on chain with new assets, and in many cases, new things that were not possible with RWAs. I mentioned stablecoins already, so the total crypto market cap and the backing of stablecoins spans quite a bit, right? We have everything from money markets and lending markets, your typical Aave compound, but really extending across, all these new series of permissionless money markets, and in some cases permission ones, being able to create a more efficient source of leverage against these assets, really enable new use cases, right? I'll just give one example using T-bills, which is what we've been talking about. If you were holding T-bills in your Fidelity account and you wanted to borrow against it, you would probably get a relatively low LTV, something in the 40 to 50%, I would estimate. And you would be paying something in the 10% plus interest rate on the loan. And this is rough estimate. Obviously, these things fluctuate, but they're really not efficient products. And this even extends to margining across your stock account, right? Being able to just borrow across different assets that you hold within those brokerage accounts. And so integrate with stablecoins, integrate it with DEX and perps protocols, create a form of asset that treasuries within all these protocols can also allocate to. I think these are, some of the really promising opportunities that we've been exploring. We've been talking to a lot of the existing, core DeFi teams on Arbitrum and live, which I guess I'll take the opportunity now to say we've officially gone live on Arbitrum. And so, now users can mint any of the tokens that we have live within our application. And I think based on at least the information that we have, I do think we are now the highest issuer by TVL, which I will admit is not a large feat to pass. There has not been a significant that's a major yet on Arbitrum, but definitely excited that we're now here, we're live, and I do think we're now the largest treasury bill issuer on Arbitrum, and we'll be bringing several new assets as well. And announcing over the next few weeks assets that you can use in some of these money markets, stablecoins, here, and think it's about time that RWA starts scaling on Arbitrum.
On the milestone, I mean, yeah, it's really huge for you guys. And I want to ask. I know like building a real world asset protocol is not easy. So I'm wondering like, what are some challenges that you guys faced along the way with building Fortunafi? And
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good question. I think building in general is not easy when you're building something that is difficult to build and has not really been built prior. I think we originally in the very early days were partnering with the likes of MakerDAO, and we were using existing tokenization smart contracts. I think one of the main learnings for us was that in order to build a very scalable system, it's important to remove different externalities from the process. And so we've spent, the last year and a half sort of rebuilding a lot of this infrastructure so that it is more scalable. So, one of these examples is native. In the past, a lot of infrastructure had used permission pools, right? What are permission pools? It's really depositing stablecoins into a pool and then they're being moved off chain or to a different chain, right? I think in most cases now create a positive infrastructure, right? If you need to have some form of composability with the existing local DeFi applications within a blockchain, you need to have we spent some time rebuilding this, and excited that we just actually launched it now in December. It's great. I think we'll have a lot of exciting news to share over the coming weeks.
right, yeah, no, that's very interesting. And also, I'm sure the community is really curious about this question as well. But what made you guys choose Arbitrum? Is there anything that stood out to you about Arbitrum in terms of the technology, the community, that made you guys want to launch on Arbitrum?
Yeah, I mean, inevitably that was a major factor in our decision-making process. I mean, I think a couple of key things, and we've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of different teams on different chains, and I think have had a wildly different experience sort of across the board. Arbitrum is how willing the community is to interact with RWA assets, how willing sort of the founders amongst the DeFi protocols are open to introducing exciting projects to each other and helping back it and sort of support the growth of this. I think there is this very unique culture around the DeFi ecosystem on Arbitrum. Obviously, the numbers speak for itself. There's a substantial amount of projects that are driving a lot of TVL that there's a lot of active users on, myself included. I'm personally doing a lot of different things on Arbitrum. And so, I fundamentally believe it's a very important chain with a unique community that's been built specifically on the DeFi side of things that I think has really been unmatched. So, for us, I think it's important that we're here. We want to support all the local builders here with this collateral and make sure that, folks can really integrate this across the entire DeFi ecosystem here.
Yeah, no, I think there's a growing home for real world assets here on Arbitrum. And it's been like really interesting to see the growth because not only you have real world asset projects focusing on coins, but also in other areas such as agriculture. It could be real estate, homes, and also like uranium as well. We recently had a Explore the Core AMA, real world asset protocols, to talk about the state of the whole ecosystem. So I think it's really cool to see how there's a lot of different things going on within the real world asset ecosystem that could potentially like have a huge impact in terms of onboarding millions of users outside of Web3 into Web3 to use these protocols that could essentially give them access to the global market. So it's been such a cool thing to see within the Arbitrum.
100%. I mean, just to like add a little bit of context, the use case that I mentioned around borrowing against T-bills, this extends to a lot of different asset types, right? There's a lot of different stocks, ET and expansion of a lot of different asset types that will be used in different ways for different use cases, but generally will drive a lot of new users. An active trader of coin, for example, right? Where are you trading it today? You might be going to Interactive Broker, trade coin, stock, right? You can buy the stock. One for retail users is not sort of very friendly, and I think for a lot of existing crypto users, they're a lot more familiar with perps and money markets for leverage. And I think we have a much more efficient mechanism for leverage, within DeFi than, the existing TradFi ecosystem does, at least for most people. And borrow against different assets and have a more efficient source of capital is ultimately something that could drive millions of new users on chain. I mean, hundreds of millions of new users on chain, right? It's like effectively the entire fintech app baking ecosystem, which has exploded across the entire world, is really now thinking, well, I'm going to have different access points. Maybe today I have to still go on chain with a MetaMask wallet, but soon enough, these fintech apps will have direct interactions with this value so that users on there will be interacting with the blockchains, but really not even really. A lot of different things that this creates infrastructure around that sort of enables, again, a lot more use cases and net new users that will be coming on chain.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another really cool thing that I've also been seeing within the Arbitrum ecosystem, especially in the real world asset vertical, is projects starting to build their own chains, their own custom chains using the Arbitrum tech stack, which are called Orbit chains. And like recently, there was a project called Plume Network that are also trying to make an impact within the real world asset ecosystem. So they recently announced their Orbit chain. So it's gonna be. I think it's like really cool to see how products are experimenting with like the technology. Though I think it's an interesting move for a project that is looking to make an impact within the real world asset ecosystem. So um, that itself is an example of how the whole entire real world asset ecosystem is innovating, right? So yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I found that really interesting.
No, for sure. I mean, we're seeing a lot of different, approaches on how to scale RWA assets, right? We're seeing permissioning blockchains that are permissioned at the core, right? I think, there's going to be a lot of new approaches and a lot of new opportunities to scale liquidity amongst RWA. So that's obviously super bullish. What I will sort of say that I think, part of my core thesis, at least for us personally at Fortunafy, is, really, I think there is a genuine of Arbitrum is it really enables both of all these different opportunities. So, obviously being natively on Arbitrum allows us to explore all these different opportunities that are launching, which is even more exciting. But, I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of different approaches here, and we'll see what dominates. I'm a firm believer in permissionless infrastructure and what that really enables, which is really anyone to access this. And so the introduction of RWAs itself is slightly permissioned, obviously on the issuance side, but I think once it's issued and it really gives users free reign to basically use it on chain, which I think is a majorly important value. So ultimately, if these permission networks and these permissioned dexes and these permissioned markets, if they end up creating utility that users are coming in and actually using it, like the existing permissionless DeFi ecosystem, then they're going to explode with demand and TVL. And obviously, from our perspective, being natively on Arbitrum, we want to support all of these use cases, and we think it's going to be interesting to see how the market moves. But we're here as a core infrastructure layer to support.
No, I agree like 100% on that. Yeah, and it's just cool seeing them like being able to build their own ecosystem with the customizations they want because when you launch an orbit chain you have the ability to customize it to the core of Arbitrum's technology. So it's cool how like different projects are approaching in terms of like the architecture of their chain in different ways, including those that are looking to system. So it's just really cool, like it's just like it's cool seeing that from like afar. So yeah, especially with real world assets. But yeah, I wanted to ask you guys as well, like, what is something that you guys are excited about outside of what you guys are working on within the real world asset ecosystem?
Ooh, that's a good question. Look, I think that there's kind of two levels to my answer, and maybe I won't make this super simple, but I think personally, I'm like extremely excited. The existing DeFi power ecosystems are being very willing to integrate this collateral type, which I think shows. And I also know that there is a proliferation of new protocols that are coming out. There's stuff that we're working on that we haven't announced yet as well, but I know that there's a lot of new protocols and new things that are being launched because, frankly, there are some unique aspects of RWA. So, I'm super excited to see this summer, if you will, which I think is inevitably going to happen. I'm really excited that the existing DeFi ecosystem is integrating these assets. I think it's super promising because at the end of the day, it is a very promising ecosystem. I think it's going to grow quite a bit. And I think the second level to that is that, we're going to have a lot of new protocols that are coming. There's some stuff we're working on. There's some stuff that I personally know a lot of other people are working on, some of the stuff that you mentioned, Jiro, but there are a lot of new protocols that are coming that I think will, help scale RWA even more. I think there's new stablecoin protocols, there's new money market types, there's new infrastructure ultimately that will help scale liquidity amongst RWA. So I think there's kind of two levels to sort of what I'm excited about. But yeah, I think that's what we were on. I don't know, Elliot, if there's anything you want to add on there.
Yeah, just to add to that too, I think just RWA's ability to make DeFi a lot more efficient. We're used to Ponzi yields and big bull and bear cycles, but it's kind of this new era where there's some real sustainable yield and real sustainable assets that aren't necessarily correlated with the boom and bust cycles of crypto, that can make just the long-term vision of DeFi a lot more efficient and a lot more scalable for people to stick around the crazy bull runs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, tokenize the world. It'd be cool. I would honestly want to see like tokenized shoes, like Nike shoes or Jordans. That'd be pretty funny.
It's happening on the NFT side of things, man.
True that. That is true.
We're seeing a lot of interesting things. It's a wild world.
Yeah, for sure. And for 2024 and beyond, what are you guys working on? What's on the roadmap?
A lot of interesting things that we can't share today, but I'll leave you at least with one prediction. I think, and this may be confusing for some, but happy to clarify. I do think that a tokenized version of the Bitcoin ETF will take over wrap Bitcoin. That's my guess. In the next 15 months.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That'd be cool. I want to see that. I mean, I've always been fascinating. I've always been fascinating about like the cool stuff that.
There's a lot of interesting things that are happening in the space. I know there's some very very strong builders that are in this chat right now that I think are building very promising infrastructure at the end of the day, right? So from our perspective, we're building an infrastructure layer that is fully compliant and is fully scalable and can handle complete integration across the entire crypto markets. And I think it's going to be interesting to see these different use cases and builders create a lot of interesting loops and paths and more efficient mechanisms for using off-chain and traditional brokerage accounts.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm really excited about what you guys are going to be building for this year and beyond. So we're kind of near the end of the AMA, but I want to give you guys a chance to mention anything else for the community that they should be aware of.
I mean, the only thing I'll mention is I think Arbitrum Foundation in particular is doing some very interesting efforts to support RWA. Just want to bring some awareness to that. For folks that aren't aware, Devansh, who's on the Treasury Working Group, they've recently posted a proposal in the Governance Forum for Arbitrum to start allocating some portion of Arbitrum Foundation's treasuries into tokenized treasuries specifically. And I do think it's a really important topic to be discussed. I just want to let everyone know that I'm personally available if delegates and ARB holders are interested in learning more about how this stuff works in the back. But I do want to applaud Arbitrum Foundation for really taking a positive step forward and supporting this ecosystem. There's a very clear gap between the quality of Arbitrum's DeFi and the size and TVL of RWA, TVL, and Arbitrum, and I'm very happy to be able to close that gap here very shortly.
Yeah, super bullish on that. Yeah, really bullish. Yeah, but cool. I mean, it was awesome talking to you guys, Nick and Elliot. Thank you guys for coming through. And for those that want to learn more about Fortunafi and what you guys are up to, where can they go to learn more? Do you guys have a Discord, Telegram, Should they
You
just
can reach out to Elliot and myself on Twitter. You can follow us at Fortunafi. You can go to our website at fortunafi.com. You can start onboarding to our app directly on our website. But my DM is open. If anyone wants to chat, please do reach out. We're more than happy to talk to folks and help folks understand this better. But thanks again for having us, guys. Really appreciate it, and excited to.
Yeah, anytime. It was a series on real world assets. I think we'll host one soon in the coming months, maybe. But yeah, it'll be super cool to have you guys there, as well as the rest of the other protocols that are focused on this vertical. So it should be an interesting conversation with.
Send us the details. We'll make sure we're available.
Dude, of course, yeah. Yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Sweet.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, if anyone wants to reach out, please do so.
Cool. Well, hope everybody here has an awesome Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your week and see you guys soon.
Thanks.